public session. Our meeting is long.
I'd like to make a motion to move our start date for our new bus drivers to first rather than late August to keep continuity in our bus schedule for our bus drivers.
Discussion.
Any costs associated with that within our budget?
There are some additional costs, but they're all within the budget. It doesn't put us over the budget.
Okay.
Anything else? All those in favor? Unanimous. Next up on the agenda is to approve the minutes from April 15th.
So,
Any discussion, changes, discussions? All those in favor? Unanimous. That brings us to citizen comments.
Yes, I'd like to know if, when you're talking about early childhood ed, preschool before 3, if we'll have opportunities to see at that time, rather than bring it into the picture now.
I don't think we have anything for discussion for that today, so now will probably be a good time to bring it up.
Okay. I'd like to point out that the Jackson School is working towards establishing a preschool for 4 and 3-year-olds. And I got the report back from the April SAU 9, and the cost per student for our children is $27,357, and the state's is $15,981. We have a total of less than, is it 47 students we actually have, and then we have 2 students with a teacher and a tuition student.
Well, we also have students in middle school, high school too.
Right, but I'm talking about Jackson Grammar School.
I believe that number is an average.
What's total?
In our school warrant book, we have 49 students, but I'm asking the board if the 49 students are all tax residents or if...
Yes, we had 51 students on the property in October, and so 47 is without the staff children.
Okay, thank you. So we have 47 students, and if you look in our town warrant, you'll see that we had 1 entering this past fall, we have 7 entering this coming fall, and 5 the following 2021. 2022 is 0 at this time, and 2023 is 3. I'd also like to point out that all 3-year-olds are pre-screened, and should they need assistance, we are mandated by the state to make sure that they get what they need to bring them up to the educational standard for kindergarten. And I believe that every child, with this cost and with the teachers and the extra things that we do for our students here in Jackson, that any child attending Jackson Grammar School at this time should leave with an education that takes each child to their full potential. That each child that leaves our school by the time they're in 6th grade should leave at their full potential of what they can. And it's very hard for me to understand why the board continues, even though it was voted down, a close vote I agree, but it was voted down, to ask taxpayers to pay for a non-mandated state program when we are already providing one of the best educational environments and most expensive education for less than 50 students. The burden to the taxpayer is beginning to become phenomenal. And also, I did a little research, and I spoke to Amy Clark at the Department of Education in Concord, and we talked about the preschool intention of the board. And she referenced me to RSA 198:15-A3. And it says, facilities constructed using school building and grants shall be used as instructional facilities for kindergarten through grade 12 for at least 20 years. A school district that discontinues the use of the facilities for 20 years shall be required to repay the state 100% of the state grant received. Upon issuing a good cause by the school district, the Commissioner of the Department of Education may waive this penalty in whole or part on a case-by-case basis. And then Amy Clark stated, and I'm quoting her, the school wants to check with the legal counsel before moving a preschool group into a space funded with building aid, unquote. And as I say, she's the Bureau Administrator of Division of Analytics and Resources, Bureau of School Safety and Facility Management. As I said, the building is intended for K through 12 education, and you did receive, she said, grant money and aid money for the 2010 construction. And it's also of great concern to me that the school is trying to facilitate the use of the quote, old library, unquote, building. Right now it's being used for adult programming center, so to speak, or at least that's what I'm going to call it. It's available to any adult Jackson resident to use at any time. All we have to do is go to the select board and ask permission, fill out a form, and it has to be approved not only by the Jackson board, but also the church Protestant committee, I believe that's right.
Protestant Chapel Association.
Okay, thank you, Protestant Chapel Association. And it really concerns me to think that you're willing now to take our students off the school campus and walk, when you told us not too long ago that you felt due to inclement weather and being outside the facility, you now have it, our school building, the grammar school is now capable of being locked down, so to speak. It's, the students are protected on their campus, and now you're willing to take and walk them on the highway.
Sarah, before you get too far into the library bit, we're still in the very early stages of exploring the library. It's still something that will have to be approved by the selectmen, after something's approved by the school board. Whatever we talk about for preschool or the library, I think we're going to put on a warrant article in March. Our process is just beginning on all of that, so to be speculating on how we use it and things like that is just too early for us. So,
Okay, but again, I think at other meetings, I think transparency has to be here. I also think that you put preschool on there every meeting, and yet there's never any indication as to what you're doing about it. And I think that this is important because, as you just said, it's only in the
Sir, to
process.
be fair, we're extremely transparent on how we're dealing with the preschool issue. It's a process. This is how we go through the process.
Correct.
We're not exclusive to the public. It doesn't mean that every meeting we're going to have something to discuss about preschool. This one we just simply don't.
Well,
Because-
I've been attending the meetings, and I feel that it's usually there's something brought up. But again,
Well, like I said,
I'm just asking
we use
you.
old business on our agenda to keep things on our radar and how we're dealing with them. That's why it's there. It's not there because we'll be discussing every meeting. It's there so that to keep our focus on where we're at with things. Some meetings there'll be times when we'll have discussions under that, and some we don't. Just some meetings we simply don't. So. But as far as
So-
the use of the library is concerned, we don't know what we're doing with that yet. To really have any, it's good to hear input from you about how you, I mean, you obviously you're opposed to the school using the library. That's good information for you to come and share to us. To start discussing about how we're going to be using the library, that's kind of meaningless at this point in time because we don't know. So it's,
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying to you, if this goes on to the e-news, it just has here, early childhood ed update. but yet there's not anything there, and yet you have been discussing, as you say, board members have come to the selectmen's meeting, they've met at other discussions.
Because that's how that process develops.
Right, but if people hear just zero, but only focus on whatever, like I am concerned, yes, but I'm just saying, how are the taxpayers or the people supposed to know where you are in the process if nothing is ever put into
Like I said, we've
it?
been pretty transparent all along. Right now, we're nowhere in the process of development plan yet. It is infancy in that regard. We're in the process of it.
Can I just jump in for a second? So just as far as transparency goes, Sarah, I've been at all these meetings that you've been at, and I'm the person who's been facilitating some of the forward movement with the support of the school board. So what I'd like to do is just remind you that you had complained that we didn't talk about the idea that we were going to move preschool. When we came to the select meeting, we thought that should have been discussed at the annual meeting. And I would like to refer you back to our annual meeting,
Yes,
because the
we
school
did.
board did talk about that in front of a video camera, in front of you, in front of the whole town. And every single month, the reason we put that on here, the preschool update, is because we are still talking about it. And so I would just refer you to our minutes from last month. If you look at 5A, there's an entire 2 paragraphs about the preschool and what we're doing. And so we'll be doing a short update today about what's happened, but we haven't gotten to that on our agenda today. So what would be helpful and constructive is if you could tell us what questions you have that are not being answered when we're in public session.
Right.
Because not every meeting we have, for example, if I meet with just the selectmen to talk about one selectman, to talk about what would the process look like, that doesn't merit anything because we don't, it's logistical. There are no decisions being made that are not going to be put forward to the town and to our board. Does that make sense?
It makes sense in one aspect, but again, I'm saying to you that a lot of people felt that with the vote that took place, that it was over, and it's not over.
No, and I think we've been very
They never
transparent
would
about
be.
that. I mean, we made formal votes.
That's the way town government works. But just to clarify a couple of things you said, in regards to RSA 198, 15A, paragraph 3, we have no intention of not continuing with K through 6 at the school for hopefully far beyond 2030. So that's not really relevant to RSA. In regards to meeting the needs of every individual student, yes, it is the target at the end of 6th grade. It's also the target of every day. It's not just our students are meeting full potential of every student by the time they're in 6th grade. That's every day. That's the goal. So, for each and every one of the students, K through 12.
Well, again, I'm going to say that I feel that speaking to some of the parents and so on and so forth, that I just feel that, again, I do not need to be rude, but I just feel that even though you say you're being transparent, and you are, and you do correction, and I appreciate that, but I still say that you just put down early childhood and just, even if you put we met and we're discussing.
That can't go into the agenda because it hasn't been made formal. It hasn't been adopted as minutes. So for example, tonight, my update, because I was the one who did the acting this past month, the board does not know about yet. So we can't put it in agenda because it hasn't happened yet formally and been approved by the board. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm just saying, will there be something in your minutes?
If something happened between this meeting and last meeting with whoever was on that committee, when we get there, we'll talk about it. To me, it sounds like Jerry didn't think there was anything. I didn't think there was anything. It sounds like maybe there is something that Jess might want to fill us in on when we get there.
Right.
But you probably know more about this than I do. I know from what happens in these meetings, and I'm not part of these preschool committees, so this is where I would get filled in as well on what's going on.
But Sarah, honestly, it's helpful to hear from you and the public about what your opinions are about the preschool, about how the library should be used. But it's difficult to have the other parts of our process hijacked by how you think it's supposed to run. That's not fair to us. We're going to run our process as well as we can, and as transparent as we can. I think that we do a pretty good job of transparency. Like, we don't know what's happening, so we can't put something there that we don't know what's happening. Joyce?
Can I just continue? Old library, talking about using this as school library. I have two specific questions, and for me to make an informed decision about whether I think that's a good use or not. I'd like to know how many hours, what days of the week you would be using the library, for the school library, when will the children be coming in, so the days of the week and the hours that would be, you would be using it. I think to know something like that would help me to decide whether I think it's an appropriate use or not. So that it wouldn't usurp the hours that the townspeople are using it now.
And honestly, Joseph, that's the same question that I would have with it, because I'm also concerned about the use of that building and the school using it in regards to fairness to the rest of the community on it. So that's what I would like to know too, and that's what our process will develop as a plan for
Well, the
this.
sooner you can get that type of information out, the more quickly people can make a decision, I think. Well, if you're talking about March then to really present this, or something.
Not necessarily, we don't really know yet. I mean, so the first step is really to go to the selectmen and get their permission to do it even. So I mean, it's going to be up to the selectmen as to whether or not we can actually use the building.
I think
And they're probably going to want to know answers to those questions before they can say whether we'll be using it or not. So, I mean,
It might be helpful to allow us to do our update, because that might answer some questions that folks have.
well, Sarah asked that in the beginning, and when I talked to you yesterday, you said that there wasn't anything for.
There are no decisions to be made. It was just a status update of this meeting being talked about and the meeting happened. That's it. We have nothing of
Since
substance
the
to
public
share.
comments need to go now, you might as well do it.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. So you want to do it now? Yeah. So, as discussed at the last meeting, the board supported us moving forward to gather information about the possibility of using the old library as an extension of our campus. So in order to start that process, to even get the information, Gail and I met with Barbara Campbell, and the two Julies, Julie Atwell and Julie Hoyt, to talk about what does that process even look like? What questions have to be asked? Who needs to be involved in conversations and things like that? And one of the things we realized was that the more concrete we are in what we are thinking about, the better off we would be in terms of the process. So we started to look at some of the logistics to figure out how is it used. So, for example, yesterday, when we spoke, I was unaware of anything having to do with how many times the bathroom can be used per day. But I got an email today. I've been trying to gather information because this is where we share the information with the board. So that just came a few hours ago. And there's information about usage. I emailed Julie Atwell and Julie Hoyt over the weekend to say, could you give me information about usage? Because we're hearing through various people what the usage is, but we actually need to show people what's the usage. So that's all things that we're working on. And we have been looking at what would a usage look like in terms of a lease. So who would be responsible for what and how, and is there payment, and can you use the space, can you not? There are all sorts of logistics that would come out. Yes,
And also the PCA has to be involved in that, in our agreement with the town, and that renewal is up in the summer, so again, presenting that to Joyce and her committee, all of those things must be considered as well, so.
Yeah, so just in terms of the process, what we were trying to do is there is a small group of us trying to just get something in writing, something that people could look at to pick apart, because we will be stronger for that in any direction that we go. And the idea was that once we had something that was clear and comprehensible and represented the vision of those 4 people at that table, then what we would do is bring it back to our boards, which we're not prepared to do right now. And the process would be such, I think the way we envisioned it is we would have to bring it to the PCA. They'd have to bless it. The town attorney would have to bless it to see if it's even legal. We would have to bring it to our board to get permission from our board and our support from our board. The selectmen would have to bring it to their board and get their permission to move forward. Then it would have to go to listening posts and public hearings. We would need to put it into any budget, whether we lease a building, whether we go for preschool, whether we do them together, whatever it is. We'd have to get them onto a warrant article, I believe, so that the town would have to vote on one, do we get the lease, and one, do we go for preschool? And are they mutually exclusive? Are they combined? We don't even have that answer yet. So I think that's why we don't feel like we have an update, because we don't really have anything of substance to share with anyone, other than that the meeting we said we would have, we had.
Just,
Are you considering the old library for preschool or simply school library?
So I think, I've gotten some feedback from community members also about a fear of the people who rely on the old library space to utilize it as community members. losing that space as an option. And that wasn't the conversation that we were part of here at the last board meeting. More, it was utilizing an underutilized space in the community to make it more robust, but not to take it away from anybody.
And Joyce, as it stands right now, in this one moment snapshot, without anything formal to present to you all, the idea is that we would not put preschoolers in there. We didn't think it was good to have them off campus. We were concerned about the historic nature of
That's
the
all we've
building.
been talking about.
Yeah, so that hasn't changed.
And so that has not changed. The idea is that it would be an extension of the campus, possibly, multimedia usage, and in the few conversations we've had, which we have reported to everyone, we have talked about the idea that what we could possibly do is keep the bigger room in a similar fashion to what it is now, just have our books there, and make it something that's interchangeable and flexible. And honestly, as one individual board member, I think it would be wonderful to see multi-generations coming together at different times. I'm not saying they're all going to be there at the same time, but wouldn't that be nice to share space? And possibly maybe we open up other space. I don't know, because we're literally just having the preliminary conversations now. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I mean, it's basically, I don't know. We don't
No
know.
to the preschool.
That's not our intention to put a preschool there. I think we're unanimous in that.
Sir?
If the program comes together, does that mean that the school would have the say as to who can use the library and when?
Sir, we simply don't. We don't have the ability to answer that
Well, I'm just,
question.
that's a question that
We can't answer the
can be
question.
answered later, but I'm just saying, you asked us to put forth what we were thinking.
Any contract would have to define expectations and goals and obligations and duties. So that would definitely be ironed out.
As a board member, my personal opinion, I don't want to do that. I want to say we're going to use it for these 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a week, whatever it is. That's it. We have a lease and pay for those hours, and we're not scheduling other hours.
And for clarification, the old library is similar to the Whitney in that it has a board. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, the library has a board.
Honestly,
A committee, okay. But it's governed in a similar kind of way, maybe less structured than the Whitney, but
I
similar
would
in
be
that.
opposed to this board governing the whole schedule over there.
Okay, that's
I've got 2 questions, I think, for Jess. You have meetings on some sort of regular basis for this committee?
No. We had one meeting since last meeting, and it was simply to start a conversation with the selectmen. This board had authorized Gail and myself to go forward, to explore, to see what any options would be for using the old library. So we had one meeting, and that was it.
Okay. If you had another meeting, would the public be invited to sit in on that?
I don't know. I don't know what, it's not
And who's on the committee? You said somebody from...
Oh, well, let me clarify that. It's not a committee. So
Oh.
let me go back 3 or 4 years. There have been multiple committees. So looking at the preschool, I mean, big committees, small committees,
Yeah.
ad hoc committees, everything. We're at the point now where there are only so many ways that we can present a possible preschool to the community. And last year, we were looking to put a preschool forward, and the conclusion we came to was that we did not have space. So the board at that time said, we are not putting this on a warrant article. That was our choice. That was not the town's choice at that time. We said, we are not moving forward because it doesn't feel like the right plan and the program for our town and the taxpayers and our students. So at that time, the board said to Gail, look, let's see if we can come back. Is there another way to do this? Is there any stone we have not turned? Is there any other way to look at this? So Gail and I got together and we said, well, the original committee had initially recommended using the old library. But then as that committee evolved, we did not present that as the space. We presented it as the church initially, I believe. So we said, well, let's go back to that, and it might be able to benefit the town as well, because to some of us, it does seem underutilized. So that might be a solution to the issue that we're facing. We weren't even sure, and we're still not sure, would requesting the old library be contingent on us putting the preschool forward, or would we want to ask if we can use that space?
I mean, and again, this is what we're kind of trying to avoid in these meetings. Like, this is more work than we're prepared to go in, and I think we need to get done the work that we scheduled for this evening done. As far as public at all of these meetings, I mean, we're not purposely excluding the public, and I understand that the library is a sensitive issue, and there's going to be a lot of people that are very opposed to it. And what I can assure you is that we will do our best, and I'm quite certain the selectmen will do their best to really listen to the public And we'll base our decisions on that kind of feedback. So it is good, sir, to come and say, hey, you know, we're very concerned about how you use the library. If you're opposed to that, let us know. If you have questions about it, and I know I got a little bit snappy before when you asked a question. I had forgotten, I had just said right before then that, hey, you know, we need questions. We're not going to be able to answer them all the time, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so the questions that we need, we want. So it is helpful to do that. It comes in, you know, these are our questions, these are how we feel about it, and we'll move on from there.
Can I just jump in for 1 second? Just as far as the committee goes, there is no committee. But if there are people that have a lot that they would like to add or share, at the moment, Gail and I are the ones gathering information. And I believe Barbara will be happy to I mean, I think any one of us will do whatever we can. The two of us are working on getting background information that we'll be bringing to the board. There's no intention, at least on my part, to start a committee or have a committee. We're kind of past that point. What I would encourage you to do, and what I'm very happy to see tonight, is by all means, please come to our school board meetings. We need people here to talk now rather than in December or January and February.
Thank you. I'll be short, because I understand I need to get on to business. I wanted to reiterate that what happened I guess 2 years ago, or last year, was a tie vote and not a no vote, but a tie vote does turn to it being not possible to move forward with preschool, and I think it's really important to frame it like that, so I want to make sure that we talk about that in a public way. And I think that as the school board continues to vet this, I really appreciate the transparency, and I have been able to make the last 2 meetings because of family commitments and illness, and it's been great to read the minutes and to see what's going on and feel like I have a sense of what's moving forward. I think that, you know, for me as a resident of Jackson, to see us looking at all of the spaces is great, and I wonder if we can emphasize, if you all can emphasize that you might even be looking at that library not tied to preschool, and I wonder if detailing it can help the town understand it. So I would ask for that to be part, and I think you did a good job just now, but let's make sure that's reflected in the minutes. Let's make sure that if that continues to be a conversation that can be separated, that we do that so that we can actually have each of those conversations. Thanks.
Emily, did you have something that you wanted to add earlier?
No, I was going to say.
Are there any other citizen comments at this time? We'll move on to presentation of school FYI activities. Old business, is there any more from privilege of it update?
No.
Does anybody have anything for the family support liaison position this evening?
The only thing is that we are meeting on May 31st with the Bartlett Personnel Committee at 9 a.m.
Yes.
That's our personnel committee, that's confirmed. So we will be, between last time we met and now, they've been working hard to get various job descriptions and explanations of who does what and how and things like that. So we will be meeting with them and we'll report back.
I'm not on that.
That's Jen and myself.
Thursday, this Thursday?
May 31st, I think it's
I
Friday.
think Jen will be back Friday. Tuition contract.
Oh, is that just the funding, school funding?
No, I think this is on there about the high school contract coming up.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, the only thing, like I could say, we had a joint part meeting last week, I think it was. And basically the discussion around this is probably our whole lot right now anyway, it's really with the SAU 9 committee that's working on it. So really that's where our activity, so we change that basically. So.
If I can jump on that for a second, because I just want to highlight the importance of the committee that Kevin has put together that's looking at contract options and possible collaborations and things like that. It has been highly educational, and I think it would really help all of our conversations. Because, for example, Sarah, when you cited that the average cost per pupil is $15,000, it's very easy for us to throw out numbers like that, but that actually really means something, and a lot of it's not something that we're necessarily in control of. So we just had a wonderful presentation by Doug Hall and John Tobin, and I believe it was, they have copies of it that are on YouTube, so if people want to see it, it's an explanation of how funding is calculated. And I do want to just say that being the best does not always correlate with the most money spent. So I'll leave that there. But I would encourage people, if it comes out into the e-news or on our minutes, please, those are meetings I would invite you to and welcome you at, because they will help us with all of our conversations.
And one comment I'd like to make, the tuition contract here that Jerry mentioned, we had a joint meeting a couple weeks ago at Bartlett, and we're going to continue talking with that too, in other ascending towns as this happens over the next several years. But Jerry made a great comment in that meeting, and I'm pretty sure it's this board's intention, and I hope every new board going forward, that regardless of what's happening in Conway, when this contract is up, this board has every responsibility to look at every option. Even though we all may hope we end up back at Conway, we need to look at Berlin, we need to look at building a new school. And don't get scared, I'm just saying, we wouldn't do our job if we don't look at every single option when the time is up. So if you start hearing people saying we're thinking about going to Berlin, it's because it's our job, is to even rule that out or say it's a good idea. And those conversations will come up over the years.
And that's exactly what I said to Barbara too, is that, when you hear that, okay, we've got a committee that's looking into Freiburg and the dorm, it's not because we're actually considering those things, it's because that's, like he said, that's sort of what our job is, to explore what our options are, our real world options, so that we can make the best decision when that decision is made as a town. Because that decision will be made by the town, not by the school board or the SAU. Moving on to instructional issues, entertain a motion for the first reading of the policies on the data governance and security.
So moved.
Second.
We had a policy committee meeting right before this meeting. Kevin, I'll let you describe.
Sure. So this is in response to HB 1612, which is a new bill that went through, was adopted, and we have to establish a policy protecting student staff data and information. And this is a model policy that was put out by the New Hampshire School Board Association with a few caveat changes specific to Jackson. One of the things that is part of the process is that we want to make sure that all website applications and programs that we do have protect student data as well as staff data. And we've joined a consortium with the state of New Hampshire because people are spending exorbitant amounts of money trying to go through this process. And what it does do is it gives some leverage for legal services. So that, for example, we use PowerSchool as our student management system. Well, other districts use PowerSchool in their districts as well. So the software applications and data are vetted through a singular place. And then legal develops a template that we would be able to use in Jackson, in Conway, in Bartlett, in moving that forward. So the first step is to have a policy in place of how we're going to address this. And then the second part is to make it work. So this is the policy itself. Katie worked really hard. If you have anything else for the committee at this time?
It's the policy, and then once the policy is in place, the next step would be to create a plan that would be submitted to the state. That has an audit of all of the systems and applications that are being used, as well as the security, and identifies any areas where we need to make changes in the future.
So, for example, if we use Seesaw, which is a software platform where kids can put things on, and teachers can respond to that, that gets sent down and gets vetted, and then the company actually has to sign an agreement saying they're not selling our data or our information to anybody else. And if they don't, then we won't use that application whatsoever. So I think we looked at what Dale was saying, 300 applications just in Conway. It's probably not near as much in Jackson, but there's a lot of duplicity, if you will, between one district and another. So it's just a quicker way to keep it more efficient.
So have you already vetted those 300?
The consortium is in the process, so we're getting certificates for all of the applications that we're using.
How would texting fit into that? So if a student is texting a teacher?
Student to student is different than student to teacher.
Right.
So I'd have to double check to be 100%, but I believe that I wouldn't think most of the time students and teachers are texting.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend that.
So
I've heard of sports-related things happen.
Probably Facebook clubs,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, those kinds of things are just,
they're all being considered. So what will happen, let's say in Jackson, we have a teacher who wants an app that will facilitate reading for a struggling student. Who is going to go to our technology person, then we'll go to the SAU, and then go up.
And
Okay.
it'll actually go right from here to this consortium, and there's a turnaround time, probably a week or two before they can get to that, but
Right, well, I was just wondering, because I know in the past, they'll say, oh, this looks like a great app, and then there it is. So,
There's going to be a little bit of a step involved.
and it looks like the data governance plan will be presented to the board no later than June 30th, 2019. Is that still planned? Oh, you guys are just out of curiosity, who was our information security officer for the district?
Allison Brand.
Oh, for the entire district?
For Jackson.
Oh, got it. Oh, just Jackson. Got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
We don't need to vote on this back. Well, we figured that you and Jessica probably want to read it So we will be looking to approve this in June. So
Okay.
if you have any
Got it.
questions, give me a comment and
Got it. Okay.
cool. Consider personnel actions, entertain a motion for the extension of the principal's contract. Kevin, just to clarify the date, is it 2020 right, or should it be 2021? I guess I'm a little bit confused on.
I thought we did change it to get away from
it
that.
should be 2021, you're right, because that would be the second year. Yeah.
So I entertain a motion to extend Kelly Bowski's contract one additional year through June 30th, 2021. So, any discussion? Questions? All those in favor? Unanimous. Entertain a motion for the election of Caitlin Purnell as lead counselor for the summer program. So,
Second.
any questions, discussion?
No, I'd like to see better than Nathan. Yeah, that's wonderful.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Entertain a motion for the election of Logan Haggerty as counselor for the summer program.
So moved.
Second, having one of our own come back for that. Who was Logan here last year too? This is
Yes, this is the second
second
year.
year.
And I just would like to note that his cover letter was fabulous. I mean, he was lovely. Just lovely.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. This is fair.
Terry, it was, I did walk in, and 7 weeks so that we could,
Sorry, 7D.
carry on town.
Entertain a motion for the election of Ariel Callahan, summer counselor.
So moved.
Second. Questions, comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That brings us to business affairs. Any questions on the budget? You guys saw the budget transfer between functions there.
Yes.
And entertain a motion for the approval of the agreement with Bartlett for school nursing services.
Motion.
Second. Questions, comments, discussion?
Same deal as we've always had.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. And I entertain a motion for the approval of the agreement with Bartlett for the library and media services. So,
Second.
questions, comments, discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. I consider approval of the agreement with Bartlett for the OT services. So moved.
Second.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Not necessarily about the contract, but just about OT in general. It looks like we've had to move funds for OT. Does that look like that's going to be continuing?
We've had an increased need for services since we budgeted for it last year, so we're just moving the money from another line we did not use to cover that. And yes, I anticipate that that need will continue into next year as well.
And will it have any impact on our contract with this employee?
I'm sure with that, I have to check with Becky to see how much money and how many hours we have that.
I just want to make sure that we're providing the services we need to provide.
We will.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. Entertain a motion for the approval of the agreement with Bartlett for family support liaison services.
Motion.
So, back to the discussions on that. Is it Vicky again, or is she coming back?
I think this is her last year, right?
No.
He's here for
One more year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we're doing the same thing, 'cause I know everybody was talking about, okay.
Yep.
Further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
The development of that, like the separate discussions that we're having about like a Jackson kind of focused liaison, like more something like that, is separate than what Vicky does, because they're still writing that, so it would be for the following year.
Right.
It wouldn't be, so it's being developed for the school year after.
Yeah, so we're still, that's what our meeting is on that Friday, is to kind of figure out where, part of what we've struggled with is defining what that position is and what our needs are versus what are the services provided, and clearing them up, because she didn't even have a clear expectation. So the idea is that we continue this year, and then while we have time to look at that, and we'll be back to the board if any changes.
And then the department potentially budget for something new.
Yeah.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. Entertain a motion for awarding the school bus bid.
So,
Second.
Discussion?
just say it's the first time I've seen two options here. In O'Connor is what we're using now.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. Any questions on the program choices for federal formula grants? No discussion there. That brings us to administrative reports. Kevin?
Hard to believe, but high school graduation, June 15th, 10 o'clock. The time of year, check your calendars, there are a lot of different events going on. I know that the high school awards are tomorrow night, and then you'll have different presentations. Check the SE9 calendar if you're interested in any of those pieces moving forward. We did have the ed funding presentation along with that, and working with Siri Chase in our office. She's putting together for the SE9 website all the information from the previous. She's making it look pretty, taking my binder, making it look good. So, we'll actually narrate I know the ed funding was more statewide, and then we did a presentation more localized and the impact of ADM. So I'm working on that, but that should be up probably by the end of the week.
So where did you present that?
But that was one of the study committees. Remember the one we did?
Yes. Oh, I thought you took what they said and
No,
since that.
we're much better.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
But I will say Jackson was very well represented. You had
Thank you.
It was really
three board members, and actually a lot of the different board members were in attendance from Stanwood, from Freedom, and Albany, and Eaton, and you name it. So it was a nice turnout. But other than that, keep an eye on the calendars, and a lot of great stuff going on.
And just while we're in date mode, our promotion cookout is at 10:30 or so. I don't know the exact time, but it will be right before dismissal on the 18th. And Bartlett is holding their grade 8 celebration on the 13th, which is a little bit early for them this year. So you can mark your calendars with that. And also, I would like to invite a member of the board to join us for the 6th grade capstone presentations We're asking the sixth graders to reflect upon what happened here in Jackson and present their portfolio to a panel, as opposed to last year they did their parent and their teacher. We want to expand that a little bit more. So that's on the 13th. It's likely to take all day because we have 11 students and we want to give each of them a good opportunity. So if you can do that, just drop me an email and let me know.
Thursday the 13th.
Yes, June 13th, which is a Thursday. We'll start about 9 and we'll go right through the day other than lunch.
Do you want the same panelists for the entire day, or do we take slots?
I think you could take, it would be great to have the same person there. I think to see the
I
whole
can actually do the next week,
span, but
that's my mom.
All right, there you go.
Mom's Day. Good. And then the students are all finishing up their state assessments, and I wanted to thank the PTO for providing mints and pretzels and snacks to get them through, and the staff for the scheduling and keeping all of the, Alice and Lorraine for keeping all the technology up and running. There were a few glitches this year, but we've worked through them. And the fifth grade will be finished up with their science part of the state testing, and they've done really well.
And Gail, on the Bartlett ceremony, do we know if Jackson's going to be represented again, as usual with the speeches?
Oh, did they do that? Did they put you on?
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know, because I figured when I first arrived here, Mr. Bosi said, it's a tradition for the youngest administrator to do a speech.
I meant students. I know you. The student, they do the two students
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
They still make an effort to make sure one of them's Jackson.
I find the Jackson student and Mary finds flowers.
Okay, that's good.
And I'm trying to pass off my speech to Joe Yanner because he's now the junior member, so.
You could go first next time and then let him go after. Make it short and sweet.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I just heard from Mary this afternoon that Joe says no, that you had agreed. Done my time, done my years.
Gail, a quick question about the pavilion. There was talk about it being officially welcomed at some point? What's happening with that? Is it open for business?
Right now, they're finishing the planning for the roof boards, and Taylor Lucy has generously offered to volunteer his, not volunteer completely, but do it at a really reduced rate to complete the roofing. So we're hoping to have that all complete for a dedication on the day of that cookout as well.
Oh, great, okay. And then after that, that can be used in conjunction with Whitney reservations, is that right?
Or summer programs, student
Meetings
or
or
town
times?
cookouts. Yes, cool.
So you said you were going to do the panel?
Yeah, let's go. I would like to. Yeah.
That brings us back to citizen comments again. I don't know anybody else.
I just wanted to.
I'm going to go to,
The date for the June meeting. I didn't think that.
we haven't said it yet, but it's,
It's like June 17th?
I'd like to change it, but anyway.
we haven't said it yet.
Talking about
Okay.
the.
Emma?
So just to pick up on that school funding and property tax presentation, I handed out some of these yellow sheets, there are more over there, and there's a website there that you can contact and get on their list. It was a really great presentation. There's also a film screening discussion titled Resilience, the Biology, Stress, and Signs of Hope on Wednesday this week at Kennett High School. I can pass this around. SWORM has addressing stress and promoting resilience in individual lives and possibly impact health and well-being, looking at early childhood experiences. So I'll pass this around. That's it.
Thanks, Emma. Barbara?
I'm sure I could look this up or someone don't. How many students do we have from Jackson that are in clinical? And yes, it's true. So we have 51 or 47 or whatever.
And here with the sales.
It's usually a rough number to say it's about the same. I don't know what the exact is right now, but it's usually about the same that we have here. It's
Yeah, you know what,
about how many we
I
have.
can do that too probably unless it's a special school site.
If Sarah had the report card in her hands a moment ago, the numbers should all be in there.
For how many students?
In the high school, and I don't know if Barbara really lines it up, do they?
7th and 8th grade, there's 13. And then if somebody will add this, I'll give you grade 9 is 6, grade 10 is 7, grade 11 is 10, and grade 12 is 3. 26.
26. Okay.
But didn't you?
63.
There was one kindergarten?
Oh, anticipated enrollment.
Total, honey.
Of high school.
It's right here. Yes, I anticipated enrollment in the next few years.
And Barbara, because our numbers are so low, we are very subject to population swings.
Right.
And it impacts our budget pretty greatly from year to year because of that. I mean, some years when it literally will be $150,000 difference in our tuition rates because we have so few students. You know, if we go from 26 to 42 in the high school in the given time, and that's, you'll see, you know,
That's astronomical.
yeah, and we do try to kind of anticipate that and how we match that up with other things that was kind of.
Stop. Thank you.
Any other comments this time?
So I can't do everything.
Wait, I have a voice of that meeting, I have a couple of issues I just wanted to ask about further. One is the New Hampshire School Board Association, so I reached out to them after our last meeting when we were talking about having community conversations about our contract. Because I noticed one time I was looking at their website that they have strategic planning services. So I called Will, or I actually called Eric, and then got contact with Will. And I said, look, maybe you guys can give us advice, obviously you guys have done this. What is the constructive way to facilitate this without breaking the bank? So he said he'd get back with me, and he has not yet. So I'm wondering, is there any way to get that information? Because I don't know if you're in contact with them, but it's not that we're looking necessarily for them to do strategic planning services, but it would be nice to have an outside facilitator for these community conversations as we start to look at the high school contract. And at least some of the materials they have, or if he has any advice on it. I'm wondering if we could get information on that.
What resources do they have for us specifically?
Yeah, there are a couple different other resources that we could go through.
Could you help?
There's the New Hampshire School Administrators Association, there are many hospitals in mine. There's also another group out of Meredith, MRC, it's a municipality,
Oh, yeah.
but they're another group, so.
Part of what I'm thinking is just doing the funding piece is so, it basically comes down to a few things, but to get to that clarity is, it's a job. So I'd like to start that process, just like you started our process earlier as an SAU. I'd like to start the process earlier because I think we need to educate folks. I mean, the funding piece and the various relationships we can have. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. And then we talked about the personnel. Kate had asked about the personnel, looking at some of the salaries. So can we put that on our personnel agenda?
And we have some information that.
I just wanted to make sure we stayed up on that. And then the last thing is, one thing that I've been thinking about, which goes to planning for townwide use of things and collaborating better, is I find it very difficult to make it to selectmen's meetings. I'm sure that you all are in similar situations, and I know it's difficult for them to make it to ours, things like that. I'm wondering, is there any way that we could do like we do with the Bartlett Board? Once a year we get together at their meeting, we try to go to that meeting, and once a year they come to our meeting so that we can collaborate better instead of doing a whole strategic planning. We're trying to figure out a way for us to communicate better, because even the 2 meetings I've made it to recently with the selectmen, I feel like there are a lot of questions, and for you guys to get them answered, you have to come to our meeting and their meeting and then another meeting, and so I just for consideration.
Something's good.
At least once a year.
Yeah, I mean, once a year, anything, just to, so people can have us all together.
I don't know the legality, then that would be their meeting, or
Yeah, I
our
don't
meeting,
know.
or would it be 2 meetings?
So
I don't know.
we would each have to have our own publication on it too. That's not the thing.
I mean, I
Do
don't
we have to call
want
a meeting to order twice?
No, I mean, you can have a joint board meeting with them. We would each have to post it in our own normal ways. That's all. Who runs it isn't really relevant. I mean,
No, nothing will be voted on.
So next
I can't imagine either board would want to vote for anything on an agenda like that.
So I can't make that 17th if you guys want to try to keep that. Fine.
Can you do the 24th?
Sorry.
I can't do the 7th.
The other thing I'm going to say, for the force are coming on day 2, is that everybody is going to be insane then, so we're trying to schedule anything with any events.
The 24th book, the 19th book,
think if we can all do the 17th, we should do that.
Well, I can't, and you
Well,
just,
you don't have a forum, we can,
it'll be the 3
Oh, wait,
years.
you can't go to 17th?
No, me and,
neither of us can go.
Oh, that's
Yes.
What's the 17th? Is that something that I'm supposed to?
no, you're good.
The only other option would be not at 6 o'clock.
I can do like 3 or 4.
We've done that in the
Okay, I
past.
can do that.
I can't do it, but that'll be 4 of us at least.
3 or even 4.
That's what we did
But
last
that
year.
to school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's step-up day, so kids will be all over the place on buses and,
Well, no, well,
but in here, the kids should be over there in the afternoon. They don't be using it in the morning.
We shoot for 3 o'clock that day?
Will they be setting up for the 18th? I thought you said step-up day was the 18th.
The promotion ceremony is the 18th, and then step-up day is the 17th. So I don't think there'll be any problem. We may have to have all the chairs out at the same time at that point.
And Ben can do it earlier, right? Maybe easier for the 18th.
Okay,
So
3 o'clock on the 17th,
3 o'clock on the 17th?
with Jess not here.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.